Hello, this is D. Allen with Life Lesson Sports. So I wanted to talk with you today about the Colorado Buffaloes. They're going into their first bye week, uh, week 7, and after 7 weeks of play, they sit at 3 wins and 4 losses. Okay, and two of those 3 wins were against group of five types of teams, and that was against Wyoming and University of Delaware. This is Delaware's first year playing at the FBS level. They had been at the FCS level for many years, and they were pretty dominant at that level. But they've moved up. This is year one, and so one of their wins is against that team, and they finally beat a ranked team, Iowa State. They were ranked like number 22 or something like that. They got a big win over them, 24-17 at home, going into their first bye week, that being Colorado's. And so the question I want to pose or talk about is, okay, where does Colorado go from here? Now, they lost a lot of games this year. I would say 3 out of the 4 losses, they actually could have won those games. Georgia Tech, the first game, they were up on them early, like 10-0. Georgia Tech was turning the ball over early, and Georgia Tech ended up winning by like a touchdown or something. Clearly, Colorado was in that game, and they could have won it, but they didn't finish. And that's been somewhat of a recurring theme during the season up until yesterday. So they did the same thing. So they played Houston in Houston, and that was a tight ball game at halftime. It was really close, like within a field goal or something. Houston might have went into the half up by 3 points or something. It was close. And then Colorado just come out in the second half, I don't know, uninspired or something. I don't know what their deal was. They were playing with their third string quarterback, Ryan Staub, who's been in the program since his freshman year, since 2023, I want to say. And so he's a third string quarterback, but he knows the system and he's been around for a while. But he didn't play well in that game, and they lost by, 16 points or something like that. Houston handed it to him. But then they come back and play BYU. Colorado goes up 14-0 early and just doesn't close the game and loses a close game. And then they do the same thing against TCU. They go up 14-0 again and they don't close out. They play poorly, not executing, and they lose that game too. And so they played Iowa State here this last game going into their bye week. Colorado goes up 7-0, and Iowa State actually went into halftime up 10-7. So it looked like Colorado was about to do the same thing again, but they didn't. They persevered, and they got the win, 24-17. And they needed that because 3-4 sounds much better than 2-5. And, so through the first 7 weeks, something that I saw a lot of were blown assignments and just mistakes all over the field. It was as if the players at times were taking turns making mistakes and not doing assignments. When I look at this coaching staff at Colorado, they've got a wealth of knowledge on that coaching staff. I'm not saying the coaches are perfect. I'm not saying the players are perfect. None of us are. But they come with a wealth of knowledge that they're passing on to this football team. And what I've seen, because I go back and watch the games, I'll watch the games twice, and I just see a lot of blown assignments. I see a lot of people not winning individual battles. I see mistakes. I'm seeing just a lot of issues that clearly, if you were where you were supposed to be in your gap, or whatever your assignment was on the play, or if it was a screenplay, and you pretty much just let your man run in free without any resistance, and that person like blows the play up. No, that's not a bad play call. That's you didn't do your job on that play. So I've seen a lot of that go on, and I think it plays a big part into why you know teams are able to run the ball on them so well. I don't think it's scheme. I think it's, this is your gap, this is your assignment. You need to be there. You can't blow that assignment. So yesterday, although uh, Iowa State, or during that game, Iowa State had over 200 yards rushing, their running back ended up with like 177 yards rushing. And so he had a big day. And you would think in most instances, if a running back has that kind of day and the total team rushing's over 200 yards, typically you would think that the other team loses that game. But Colorado made big stops in different parts of the game that enabled them to get over the hump and to win this game and close it out. But now I ask myself, we're okay, 3-4, 1-3 in the Big 12 conference, and unless just teams just start taking each other out and teams start compiling multiple losses, they probably won't get into the Big 12 championship game. And so now you're playing for a bowl game. Let's go to a bowl game back to back years and have a nice bowl game. And so when I'm looking at the recruiting staff, did a great job adding depth, because the teams, the college teams have to put out injury reports now. And Colorado's injury report has been pretty long the last two games. And what I'm seeing is other players, quality players, stepping in to positions and making plays, and it's not like this huge drop off and just a big mess. I'm not seeing that. Coach Prime's first season, they didn't have any depth. And so pretty much once you start getting through those starters, it was a significant drop off. Not anymore. And I just want to highlight some things I noticed during the last game of players stepping up and examples of depth. Number one, at the running back position. So they have two running backs, DeKalin Taylor and Simeon Price, they're out. And so they converted Draylon Miller to running back in the last game. He got hurt. He's out. So what do? They're going with Michael Welch. He's a true sophomore. I don't know if he redshirted last year. He may have gotten a red shirt. I'm not sure. But let's just say he's a true sophomore because he played a lot last year. So they have Michael Welch out of Georgia. And they have Dallin Hayden. He's a transfer from Ohio State, former four-star. So that lets you know the caliber of player he is. And he's running the ball. He's running hard. This young man, he looks like a true running back when you talk about running the ball. He can catch out of the backfield, and he's good in pass protection. So I'm impressed with Dallin Hayden right now. And then Cam Michael. See, Cam Michael is another one of those dual threat high school type players out of Georgia. I think he was a 4-star. That Travis Hunter model, And again, I'm not saying anybody's Travis Hunter, but he's talented and he dominated both sides of the football when he was in high school, and he's been banged up. He redshirted his first year. He had some surgery or something, and this year he was injured again, his hand or something. But for the first time yesterday, they put him in at running back, and statistically, he didn't do much statistically, but he had bursts where you saw, okay, that's a speed guy right there. And he's got actually he looks pretty physical. He's got pretty decent size. So I'm very interested to see where he goes and what he does, how they use him moving forward, especially with all of the injuries that they have in the running back room right now. Other players, true freshmen, two of them. London Merritt plays DN. He was a Ohio State commit. He flipped. Now he's at Colorado. He's impressive. He is looking really good out of IMG Academy out of Florida. And so he's been very, very impressive. And his snap count in terms of plays per game that he's getting, it continues to grow. And against Iowa State, he started for the first time. Very impressive. There were some injuries on that D-line, and actually the D-line room is pretty beat up. And so, you got Arden Walker was out, Sam Okunlola. He hasn't played this season yet. And they've got some interior D tackles that are out for the season as well due to injury. And so he got the start yesterday. Impressive. And he impressed in the last game as well against TCU. His teammate from IMG Academy, Alexander McPherson, he was an Oklahoma State commit that flipped to Colorado. Impressive. I mean, these two bookends at that defensive end position, they're making plays. They're true freshmen. And so I see a lot of upside with them, and they're getting valuable playing time. So I continue to think about Quentin Gibson. He was, I want to say, the Max Prep Player of the Year, Mr. Best Player coming out of the state of Texas. And he's been returning punts, kickoffs, and he's been getting some run at slot on offense as well. So I'm expecting some big things. I think he's going to run some punts or kickoffs back this year. He's been on the verge of breaking some. So he's playing very, very well also. Quanell Farrakhan X, he's a receiver. He's been getting in the game. He was returning punts during the Iowa State game. And so you've just got more players, young players that they're starting to insert into the games. And I'm seeing, okay, their depth is a major benefit. But here's one thing, and there are other players too, and I'm sure there's some guys that I didn't mention. But here, when I look at, okay, where do they stand in the Big 12 statistically? They're at the bottom in a lot of categories. So I think when I look at their remaining schedule, they've got Utah coming out of the bye week. They still have to play who is that? Arizona State. They have to play them. They still have to play West Virginia. West Virginia is struggling this year. They have to play Kansas State, and it's one other team. I'm not thinking of who that other team is right now. Maybe it's like Arizona or somebody like that. But do they have 3 more wins on their schedule? I don't know. West Virginia, they should be what? Look, they should be able to beat any of the teams because they've clearly shown all of the teams on their schedule except for Houston for half. But Houston ended up just kind of letting them have it. But for half, they hung with them. But everybody else, they were right there. So they can beat everybody else on their schedule. It's just a matter of, will this win kind of propel them into closing games and feeling good at the end of the game instead of the opposite. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick. And again, I thank you for listening to me. This is D. Allen with Life Lesson Sports.